Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, now part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Join us as we explore the vital role of compensation, strategy, data, and people analytics in navigating today's complex business world. With the resources of Work Defined, we're bringing you deeper insights and actionable ideas from top HR experts. Now, here are your hosts, David Turetsky and Dwight Brown. Hello and welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast. I'm your host, David Turetsky, and we are live at the UKG Aspire Conference in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. It is a beautiful day. It's been a crazy week, and I have with me Noah Mithrush from Guusto. Did I say it right that time?
You said it right.
Great.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Noah, tell us a little bit about you, and tell us a little bit about Guusto.
Sure. So a bit spark notes of my background is I've been working in HR tech for a little over, I'd say, 10 years in different capacities, from helping companies grow their company branding for talent acquisition reasons, all the way to onboarding programs, to marketing and selling HR software.
Very cool.
Yeah. So with that background, I would say I come at it from a slightly different lens. I may not be an HR practitioner, but I am working with HR customers, thousands and thousands over the years.
Right.
So I get to see a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I'm sure you do.
Sure do.
Tell us a little bit about Guusto.
So Guusto is a rewards and recognition software. So if you think about building a happy culture of people around making sure people feel appreciated, specifically, we focus on frontline organizations. So when you think manufacturing, hospitality,
Sure.
Retail,
Right.
There's a lot of high turnover.
Oh,
and
yeah.
a lot of the people are more connected in the frontline spaces to their peers, their
Sure.
colleagues. So
Yep.
what we do is we create a space or a culture for them to appreciate one another, and also for managers to reward their employees when they go above and beyond.
Excellent. So it's really about, for frontline especially, making sure that customer interaction happens and that they're rewarding the right behaviors.
Definitely. That's a big
Awesome.
component of it. And just making sure that people feel appreciated for what they do. That's always
Excellent.
nice.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
So one thing we do on the HR Data Labs podcast, we ask one fun thing that no one knows about Noah.
No one knows about Noah.
Yes?
Okay. This is something that's more recent after I made a big life change from city life to more coastal life.
Interesting.
So I got into gardening this summer.
Gardening.
And specifically hydroponics.
Really?
Yep. I dove in head first, and I bought hydroponic towers, and I've been doing that for the last 5 months, and definitely part of my recent journey. Nobody would know about me, but it's...
So like tomatoes or...
Yeah, I would say I grew tomatoes, a lot of lettuce, all the herbs and spinach, you name it. It grows like wildfire.
I'm sure. I had been growing tomatoes, cucumbers, corn in Massachusetts, and we had some droughts. So having a hydroponic system would have been wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Life is too short not to work on solving cool problems with interesting people, and recruiting allows us to do both. I'm Brando, host of the Rebel TA podcast, a show where we share stories with people and talent leaders who are on a mission to empower the candidate-employer relationship in the future of work.
So our topic for today is going to be user experience. And we talked about this a couple of times on the HR Data Labs podcast. Noah, tell me, what do people get right and get wrong about user experience?
I would say what I see a lot of the time of what people get right is their intention, right? At the very beginning, they're trying to solve a problem. So they're putting in the effort, the time, and putting a goal in front of them to actually help people with a problem. What people often get wrong when I see, especially when it comes to tech and the user experience, is not taking into consideration all of the touch points along the way of different technology, how it's being used, and how the actual end user, or in many cases in HR tech, how the employee has to use and interact with this tool.
Right. Well, I've been in HR tech for a really long time, and we've gone through a lot of different shifts in user experience. In the old days, it was about Java and Java Fat clients and making sure you had a really responsive when you put something in, something happened immediately. And then it went to tiles and struts where it was more HTML type and more HTML and reactive HTML. And now it's responsive HTML where you're dealing with lots of different types of devices, and whether it's a cell phone or a tablet or a computer. So am I thinking about things right when I say it's not just about getting something in front of an employee, but it's also trying to meet requirements of what the employee needs or what the end user, it might be a manager or an executive, right?
Definitely. There's obviously the requirement side of things, but when I look at it as a project's going to fail or you're implementing a new program, we're looking at you're implementing a employee recognition program. And what we hear a lot of at Guusto is that, employees don't use it, right? We started it, maybe it started to gain some legs, and then all of a sudden it fell off.
Right.
A lot of the times that's because of the actual user experience that's created. Right. And when I think of user experience or the employee experience, yes, there's two sides of it, right? There's the belonging and how we're making people feel, the experience they have at work, but there's also the other side of the technical piece, how they're interacting with different tools and what we're getting from it. Often we design programs in a way that we want it to be done, right? And what we on maybe the executive side or the deployment side are trying to achieve without thinking of the actual employee experience. And so when I talk about the employee experience from that perspective, it's less touch points, or how confusing is it? How do I feel at every moment of the employee journey, if you will, when I'm receiving an award or when I'm dealing with a customer on the retail floor and then my manager comes up and rewards me? How easy is it? Right? Often we'll see that, you design a program that's very manually intensive, that they have to go out and buy gift cards, or they're going to go and print out a certificate, or they're going to do all these different things in a system to ask manager, like HR may ask a manager to take these 10 steps to do a simple interaction for their employee, when really that should be seamless. So that the program actually takes flight, that it actually gets adopted.
Because in that moment, when that manager feels that way, if it takes them so long and it takes too many steps, that moment's gone. And that feeling that the employee had or the manager had, it doesn't have the same bang for the buck as if it happened in that moment.
And I often talk to HR professionals when they're implementing a new program of sorts. Again, I kind of default back to the recognition piece as a good example is think about your favorite tools that you use on your phone, right? These are the same tools that your employees are using every single day. Even when it comes to like social media platforms, the reason why those are successful is because it's so easy to use. So.
And there's a difference between EX and UX, right? EX is the employee experience, whereas UX is the design of the application. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the same or true that it needs to be easy, but it should be, like what you're just saying, consumer-oriented. Not easy, but think about what that person wants to do in that moment, like as if they were buying something from a shopping site that everybody knows about, where they just make it so darn simple to buy that thing.
I'll go back to an experience I had when I was working with a client of mine, and we were going through their talent acquisition process. When somebody was applying for a job and they're like, you know what, we have a lot of hits. Like a lot of people are coming to our company website, but they're not actually converting on the application piece. And so we dove into the actual, every single step of the application process.
It
was like, you're asking for their first name, last name, and email address 5 times. And it's 8 pages long. So that's a good example of a poor employee experience where, pre-employee experience, but were asking for mundane information because on the HR side, on the back end, what they were looking for is, hey, in my system, I need to put this field in here. So they wanted to do less work.
Right.
So they put the onus on the applicant, right?
What I remember those days, I was doing a lot of work on that stuff too. And a lot of times it came back to, we were designing because paper forms were designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we just took the paper form and we put it into an online experience and said, voila, look, it's there.
Right.
And so, yeah, we kept asking for the same thing over and over again because that's what the paper form did.
Right.
Oh my goodness, when we realized that the simplification that happened wasn't just magical, it was a relief. And we got more hits, to your point, we got more hits and we got more people coming through the process because now the process wasn't onerous anymore.
You made it a little bit more effortless. It was seamless, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Enjoying the conversation? Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode packed with insights and strategies. Now, let's dive back in.
So that kind of gets me to the next question, which is, well, how do you think about or get into the mindset of the user and make sure that you're aligning the EX and the UX as you're going through and developing things? Is it really just as simple as think about what the consumer environment is?
One of the tried and true practices that I always default to, the first step is map out the employee journey. Not just saying, okay, they're going to take step 1, 2, and 3, but okay, dissect those steps into what tool are they going to be interacting with? What is the level of effort in that step? What are they thinking, or what do they have to accomplish in that step? And actually understand how the person's feeling throughout that whole journey. If you were to make it a segment that you were taking out and focusing on, right? That allows you to actually understand and look at it from a different perspective. And you get both the emotional side, but also the technical side of looking at it and going, okay, we have 5 too many steps. Or why do we have these 3 clicks when it could be 1?
Right.
So then you can start to distill it down that way.
Absolutely. That's really cool. So you're actually implementing kind of an emotional IQ into the thought process. So whether it's stress or whether it's excitement or whatever, you're trying to take their perspective and use whatever that perspective is in the design of the app or of the process.
Yeah. I think the emotional side of it is always a big part of tech usage, right? And again, we so easily get confused, especially nowadays, where we are designed to have more shorter and shorter attention spans.
Oh, yeah.
Our expectations.
Squirrel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our expectations of tools nowadays is to be easy. And if it is not, that is literally for startups and tech. It is whether your product lives or dies.
Absolutely. Adoption, like you mentioned before, is kind of I think the biggest part of that. The live or die is, can you get people you sell this to adopt it and make it their own and make it part of what they are? So I totally agree. Let me ask you a question though. Going back to you were talking about the user mapping, does it change if it's the employee or the manager or the administrator? Are you doing that user mapping for all of those, or is it you're just taking it one step at a time?
I would say it is important to look at both the sides of the department that's implementing the tools, but also you really want to focus on the employee side of the experience. And what I would add is, that column or that row, however you're mapping that the journey out, and saying, okay, we need to be collecting this data at this point, right? To make sure it's fulfilling the requirements that you need as like a program administrator, if you will.
Right.
But I do always default back to be employee-centric, you put them first, right? They are your customer at the end of the day. So you want to look and prioritize their lens.
Yes.
Right?
So I have a different question on a different thought process, which is in the new world where there's gig workers, there's contractors, there's a lot of other types of employees. Does your answer change at all to the whole EX, UX, if it's a different type of worker, or should it all be the same?
It's a good question, and I wish I had a perfect answer for it, but I think it depends.
Yeah.
Right? Not all situations are the same. It depends on your company and like the exact journey you're taking. Onboarding journeys are going to be very different across different industries,
Right.
what they need for part-time versus full-time.
Right.
So I'd say it's situational.
That's an absolutely fine answer. No question. So if you were giving advice to someone who was developing products that had a component that was more employee facing, what would your advice be to them of where to start on this journey?
Talk to them. I think we try as human beings, a lot of what I see in tech is we spin our wheels. We try to design all these programs. We try to implement, we think we use them as Band-Aids a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way. Keep it simple. Talk to your people, bridge that gap, and just see what they need, and then test it and get feedback.
And then make it complicated.
And then complicate it, yes.
Well, I've been part of what we call MVP conversations, the minimum viable product.
Yes.
And something simple is never minimal. Well, I mean, it could be, but typically when you talk about MVP, you talk about what's just the bare bones we need to get it out the door.
Right.
Not necessarily the best or the simplest.
Mm-hmm. I would say an MVP, and you have to be careful about who you're collecting the feedback from, right? That is more of a contained version of you're not quite at the end goal, but you have the end goal in mind.
Right.
But you have to be very aware of how you're presenting the tool in the context that's being given. A lot of the times with MVPs, if you just put it in the hands of people and they don't give them the right context and communicate what stage it's at.
Yeah. What am I supposed to think about this?
Yeah. Like, well, this is a crap app, right?
Yeah.
So it depends again. But
That's
make
fine
sure
answer.
you're using a controlled group in order to collect the feedback and ask the right questions.
So no, what else? I mean, we haven't talked about the elephant in the room. The elephant in every HR technology room.
Is it artificial intelligence?
It is artificial
AI.
intelligence, yes. How does AI impact this?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. To stay on topic and not try to go too far down the rabbit hole, which I could very easily do for hours.
Yes, me too.
But when we talk about processes and how we are designing programs nowadays, when I think about the tools we're using, I think about a lot of the teams that I work with and they're implementing AI. There's a lot of different or varying degrees of experience that people have.
Sure.
What I am seeing now, getting into a lot of agentic processes and like building AI agents for a lot of our team's workflows.
Yep.
How do we get it to do more of the data input rather than we're doing the mundane work? That's sort of the tip of the spear that a lot of people are trying to tackle. But it's how we're thinking about building out these processes with agents that I find very interesting, because what I really like to do and push with my team or the people that I'm working with on building these agents is how do we think differently? Mm-hmm. Because these agents, how we build them, have the power to do it differently. So it's not necessarily, I would say, mapping out our steps 1 through 5, right? So when I am thinking about this buying journey or like the employee journey that we were just previously talking about, now with AI, how can we do that differently? It doesn't have to be the same.
No, it doesn't. But then we're starting to overcomplicate it, aren't we? Can't we just use or start embedding AI, like the agentic AI, into, like you were mentioning, the workflow to solve some of the problems that people have of either being bottlenecks or just simple logic, like, do they have a budget? Yes. Is their budget available? Yes. Okay, I can approve it. Instead of forcing that on administrators who, this is a very low value, not that the process isn't high value, but this is a very low value approval for them, especially if it's within guidelines.
Right.
So shouldn't agentic start with like you're mentioning the mundane, and then maybe creep over into the cool and new and
The innovative.
innovative. Yeah, wow, yeah.
Yes, I mean, yes, there's a lot of quick wins that you can use with AI. So, like you mentioned, the approvals, data input, the things that take humans hours or days that we can take off their plate.
Right.
And allow AI to be a source of, helping that person do more with
Right,
less.
exactly.
Right? We want to think of AI as more of a tool in the tool belt rather than taking over positions, which I think a lot of people are scared of. And again, that's a communication issue.
Yep. Well, we hear a lot of people on TV who probably want the spotlight, but talking about the AI is going to replace you. They're going to take your jobs.
Yep. The robots are going to be sitting behind the desks. It's not really how it works.
Yes, they are. They're going to come in. They're going to have their neckties, I guess, or probably not with business casual. They're jeans, ripped jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And the hoodies, right? And the sneakers.
With the hoodies, yeah.
Yeah. No, but when I think about AI, yes, there's the simple ways that it can help us in our day-to-day lives. I'm sure you're similar to me. I use AI every single day.
Yes, I do.
Where I see it to be a benefit in something like the employee experience is talking about like mapping out that employee experience. And then even if you put it into ChatGPT and say, is there a different way that I could be looking at this?
Right.
Or like, how can I cut down the steps that are required in my onboarding journey? Getting these quick ideas that can help people like expedite the onboarding process, making it easier for the employee or the candidate, right?
Yeah.
Those are quite large wins, and those become for a company in a lot of ways a competitive advantage in how they're utilizing AI, right? So yes, you want to do the quick wins, but if you keep your eye on the short-term fixes as well as the long-term fixes, I always say it's like we have to, yes, be focusing on these small and incremental wins, but what are the bigger projects we're working on?
And so at the end of the day, it's going to be an ROI discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to, in order for us to all keep our jobs, we do have to do things that impact the bottom line.
Exactly. Yeah. So the robot may not take over for us unless we write maybe not write, but we write ourselves out of a job.
Ooh, it's a dark thought.
Yeah, very. But I mean, I watch a lot of Black Mirror and some other dystopian things, so that's probably the reason why.
You go down that route, do you?
Yeah, down the rabbit hole, yeah. Yeah. Noah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you.
This was great.
It was wonderful. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much, and stay safe. Thank you for listening to the HR Data Labs podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your network. Also, check out the HR Data Labs Brown Bag Lunch every Friday on LinkedIn. You can also check out the recordings on Spotify. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.